It was supposed to be a formal farewell, dignified, quiet, and perfectly royal. But what Princess Leonor did next changed everything. Cameras captured it. The crowd gasped. And Europe hasn't stopped talking since. Because in the middle of Copenhagen's grand ceremony, she turned toward Prince Christian, and made a gesture no one expected. A gesture that felt like goodbye, and something more. Every royal event follows a script. Every move, every glance, every smile, perfectly choreographed. But this time, something broke through that script. Something raw, real. As the Spanish and Danish royal families gathered for the closing ceremony of their joint royal engagement, the moment seemed routine. The future Queen of Spain standing beside the future King of Denmark. Two symbols of Europe's young royalty, poised, graceful, restrained. The music played softly. The crowd watched in reverent silence. Then it happened. Leonor, standing just a few feet from Christian, turned slightly toward him. She hesitated, just for a heartbeat. And then she reached out. Her fingers brushed against his sleeve, lightly, carefully, but with unmistakable emotion. For one split second, her composure slipped. Her eyes softened. Her lips moved, as if she whispered something only he could hear. The cameras caught it all. And in that single instant, the entire tone of the ceremony changed. Prince Christian froze for a moment, then gave her a small nod, a look that spoke volumes without a word. His expression wasn't royal. It was human, sad, tender, real. And that's how the rumor began. Was this an emotional goodbye? Because just hours after the event, Leonor was set to return to Madrid, her schedule packed, her next royal duty calling her back home. The ceremony was the last time she and Christian would appear together in public for months. But it wasn't just the timing that caught people's attention. It was the energy, that quiet, intimate pause between two young royals who've shared years of whispered connection, yet are bound by duty to stand apart. Social media exploded. Did she just touch his arm? Was that a goodbye? Why did he look at her like that? The clip spread across Europe within minutes. To some, it was a sign of affection. To others, it was heartbreak in disguise. But to those who have followed their story closely, it was the perfect reflection of what their connection has always been, restrained, unspoken, yet deeply felt. To understand that moment, you have to go back to where their story began. Years ago, long before the cameras caught that gesture, Princess Leonor and Prince Christian were simply royal children, raised under the weight of expectation, learning the art of duty and diplomacy. Their paths crossed often. Royal banquets, youth forums, official visits. Always formal, always polite. But something changed during one of those early state events in 2023. It was at a private dinner in Madrid. A relaxed evening following a state ceremony between the two royal houses. Witnesses described the atmosphere as warm, familial. That's when Leonor and Christian began talking, away from their parents, away from protocol. They laughed. They shared stories. They connected. From then on, their appearances together were never the same. There was something subtle, a shared glance, a quiet smile. Two young royals trying to balance their public roles with something quietly personal. And yet, no one could have predicted the emotional depth that would surface years later in Copenhagen. That ceremony wasn't just another royal event. It was symbolic, marking the close of a joint European cultural initiative. For weeks, Leonor had been working alongside Christian, attending youth programs, military events, and official dinners. It was the first time they had spent extended time together since rumors of their growing closeness had filled royal headlines. And now, as the final song echoed through the cathedral and the national flag stood tall behind them, they both knew what came next: separation. It's rare for a royal to show emotion publicly. It's even rarer for it to be directed toward another royal heir from a different country. But Leonor's gesture, that simple touch, broke the invisible barrier. It wasn't defiant. It wasn't dramatic. It was quietly devastating. Royal experts immediately began analyzing the footage. Spanish commentators noted how King Felipe, standing just behind his daughter, seemed momentarily still, aware of what had just happened. Queen Letitia's gaze turned sharply toward Leonor, her face unreadable. In Denmark, Queen Mary was seen watching the two with a knowing smile, a mother's quiet recognition of young love colliding with royal duty. But behind palace doors, the moment caused more than just speculation. According to insiders, Leonor's team had advised her to keep all public interactions with Christian strictly formal during the event. They knew the press attention would be intense. Yet Leonor's gesture broke that instruction. Not out of rebellion, but emotion. One palace source said, she knew it was the last time she'd see him for a long while. That moment was her goodbye. When the event ended, Leonor stepped into her waiting car. But before the door closed, she turned to look back, one final time. Christian was still standing there, his eyes fixed on hers. No wave, no words, just silence. And then she was gone. That image, or looking back, became the headline across Europe the next morning. The look that said everything. But the story didn't end there. Hours later, as Leonor's plane landed in Madrid, a single photograph began circulating online. It showed her in the back seat of the royal car, looking out the window. Her hand rested on something, a small, dark bracelet. Danish fans quickly noticed. It matched one Christian had worn at a recent charity event in Aarhus. Coincidence? Perhaps. But for millions who believe in their story, it felt like a message. Meanwhile, in Denmark, Christian attended a youth gala the next evening. Observers said he was quieter than usual. When asked about the event, he smiled faintly and said only, "It was a meaningful day." For two young royals constantly under the microscope, those few words meant everything. Weeks passed. The video still trended. Analysts dissected it. Fans replayed it. The moment became more than gossip, it became a symbol of how love can exist even in the strictest of worlds. Because what Leonor showed wasn't rebellion. It was courage. The courage to be human, even when the crown demands silence. She could have kept her distance. She could have followed every rule. But she chose to reach out. To make a gesture that would speak louder than any royal speech. And maybe that's why people can't forget it. It wasn't the ceremony. It wasn't the titles. It wasn't even the supposed romance. It was the raw humanity. The truth that even a princess can feel the ache of goodbye. The footage now stands as one of the most emotional royal clips of the decade, a single moment that turned into a global conversation about love, duty, and the cost of royalty. Was it a goodbye? Maybe. Or maybe it was a promise, that no matter how far apart they must walk, their connection remains. For now, Leonor returns to Spain, her future unfolding under the watchful eye of her nation. Christian remains in Denmark, continuing his royal duties. Two paths diverging, but not disconnected. Because if that small, tender gesture taught the world anything, it's this: true connection doesn't need words. It doesn't need approval. It only needs a moment. A single, unforgettable moment, caught on camera, felt across continents, and remembered forever. Princess Leonor's gesture wasn't a mistake. It was a message. And somewhere, behind palace walls, Prince Christian knows exactly what it meant.